Hey, what's up everybody? It's Realistic with Realistic Productions doing another tutorial for SoundOracle.net. And today what we're going to do is we're going to go over the different parameters of a compressor. We're not really going to go into how to make a compressor sound awesome or how to use it on your mixes to sound awesome. It's more about what each parameter does. So when you're using a compressor, you really understand what each parameter you're moving around is going to do and how it's going to affect your mix. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Pro Tools and go over a couple different things from there. So I got this Pro Tools session loaded up and a bunch of different compressors. What I'm going to be doing is going through some more really exaggerated and underwhelming examples just so we can really hear what each one of them do. I got quite a few compressors opened up here just so we can see that most compressors are going to have the same parameters, or at least the same key ones. We're going to see threshold, and we're going to see our ratio, and we're going to see attack and release. All right, there are like some examples of compressors that don't. This CLA2A, which is supposed to like emulate the classic LA2A. This compressor is actually an Opto compressor, and it works because it has this little light inside of it that will figure out its own attack, release, and ratio based on the peak reduction and gain input that you put into there. So that's always an option too. But I'm actually gonna want to focus on the compressors that have the regular parameters that we normally are used to seeing on a compressor. And we'll go through a little bit of each parameter here. I always like to use these fab filter ones just because they're so visual and are really good for doing these tutorials. I might not necessarily use this compressor every single time, but it's just super visual. So, hey, let's bypass this and listen to what we got here so we can hear, and then we'll start going through each one and just exaggerating a little bit and seeing what they do.
Real. All these long hours, more than I can count. Can't be positive with negative accounts. Half of the day I be laying on my couch. I went to Hollywood, all my friends went to Stout.
Yeah, so this is a rap vocal. Usually the compressing is going to be a little bit more aggressive for something like this, but we'll just go through and see what each one does. We'll just start and work our way from left to right here. The threshold, this is the parameter. It's the level at which gain reduction begins. It creates this line that when we listen to it of where the level can pass, and if it passes this threshold, this line, then it's going to trigger the compressor and the compressor is going to work. If it's below the threshold level that we send, the compressor is not going to do anything. The reason why the compressors exist is to control the dynamic. So if something is too quiet, or if something is too loud, we can push down what's too loud, and that way what's too quiet will sound a little bit closer to what's too loud because it was pushed down. So let's exaggerate this imaginary line as you see it moving right here, and I'll solo the vocal.
Went to Hollywood, all my friends went to Stout. Might let you get a full stack if you work. Make you feel a lot more self-worth. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Addiction ain't a dog, man, that shit won't hell. Reality is far from.
Yeah, so as you can see, when the threshold is at 0,
Went to Hollywood, all my.
nothing's happening. But when we get like really aggressive and just go all in on this threshold,
Went to Hollywood, all my friends went to Stout. Might let you get a.
we can hear how it's pushing everything down. Generally, you don't want to do that. I mean, you would for maybe parallel compression, and that's a whole nother video that I'll be doing pretty soon here. So yeah, you usually set the threshold to find a spot where a good balance between the really loud and quiet so it evens it out.
Went to Hollywood, all my friends went to Stout. Might let you get a full stack if you work.
Cool. Let's go next to ratio. And the ratio is how much level is going in versus how much level is coming out. So this ratio is set to 4:1. If 4 decibels of level is going into the compressor, only 1 decibel is going to come out of it. if 8 dB is going in, then only 2 dB is going to come out. Same if we set this down to like close to 3 to 1, it'll be 3 dB is going to go in and 1 dB is going to come out. 6 dB goes in, 2 dB comes out. And so that's what our ratio is at. So let's listen to some different versions of that. If we set it to 1 to 1, nothing's gonna change.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose her. That's how I feel, that's how I feel. When I'm on a pill, nothing feels real. All these long hours, more than I could count.
So what I did by bypassing it was to show where the original signal was at so we could hear what was going into it versus this really aggressive ratio to hear what was coming out. So it's quite a difference. And I'll ease up. I'll just do close to 4 to 1, and then we'll bypass in and out, and we can see it working too on the screen here.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose her. That's how I feel, that's...
So yeah, we can hear the differences of volume. Next, we're going to go over to our attack. And the attack is how fast or slow the gain reduction will begin. So how fast is this compressor triggering down on anything that passes the threshold? If it's slow, it's really not going to do too much.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose.
See how it's barely touching it versus if we go fast.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose her.
You see that meter, how fast it's going down?
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose her.
Versus how slow it's going down when we have it set to slow. So yeah, we can see that it triggers a lot faster. All right, and then next we'll do our release. The release, much like the attack, it's based on how fast or slow things happen. And it's how fast or slow the gain reduction will end. When will the compressor ease up? Will it be really fast, will it be right away, or will it be slow? So let's start with fast.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And
you see how that meter's just bouncing up really fast?
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over.
And then let's check it out when it's slow.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose.
And you see how it takes a little bit more time to come back up. We can hear that the compressor will work slower or faster based on these parameters right here. All right, another thing that we're going to hear or see a lot in compressors is a knee. This was a little bit of a tricky one for me to explain, but it's based on our ratio here, and it's how gradual will the ratio work, basically. So if it's set to a really hard knee, the compressor is not going to have much forgiveness. It's going to, once it hits that threshold and that ratio, the compressor is going to just clamp down. If it's set to soft, there's going to be a little bit more forgiveness, and it might have a little bit more, like the volumes can go a little bit past the threshold and ratio. So let's listen to it when the knee is hard.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn
versus soft.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose her. That's how I feel, that's how I feel.
Yeah, you can just see and hear that has a lot less forgiveness when it's set to hard and a lot more forgiveness to the compressor when it's set to soft, so it won't be quite as aggressive. All right, next we have our output gain. On a lot of compressors, you'll find something that kind of lets you make up the gain. Some compressors have an input gain. I know a lot of like the 1176 emulations will have that option of how much compression you're driving or how much level you're driving into the compressor. For this plugin and a lot of plugins, like even this our compressor, we'll see that it just has our makeup gain, and then that allows us to control how much gain is coming out of the compressor when we're done. So if like we just really compress things and there was like a lot going on, we can always make up for it.
Broke, if I don't love a girl, call her over. And ain't a goddamn thing if I lose her. That's how I feel, that's how I feel. When I'm on a pill, nothing feels real. All these long hours, more than I can count. Can't be positive with negative accounts. Half of the day, I be laying on my couch. I went went to Hollywood, all my friends went to Stout. Might let you get a full stack if you work. Make you feel a lot more self-worth. That's how I feel, that's how I feel.
All right, yeah, so that's really basic definitions of how the compressors work. I wanted to keep this one really short and simple just in case you're looking for the answers and don't want to spend too much time. Hey, so hopefully you got a lot out of how compressors work and what each one of the parameters do. Hopefully you're able to learn a couple little things. And basically what we did was we just went over the threshold and what that did and saw that it kind of sets the level when the gain reduction will begin. Went over the ratio and saw how much is going in versus how much is going out. Then we kind of messed with the attack to see how fast or slow the gain reduction would begin. Went over the release over here and saw how fast or slow that would, and then we kind of just talked about the makeup gain at the end and the knee. And yeah, if you totally understand these now and you feel like you have a better understanding on how each one of the parameters work, you're going to be really fine in the studio, and you're going to be able to use any compressor that you run across, and you're really going to be able to start using them in your mixes effectively. So hopefully you're enjoying these videos. If so, feel free to shoot it in the comments of what kind of tutorials you'd like to see us do in the future, and we can definitely make that happen. If you haven't already, you can find me on all platforms at Realistic Productions. You can find me at the web at realisticproductions.net. And if you're looking for the best loops and the best sounds to get your productions to really just be different from everybody else's, go to SoundOracle.net, and you can find him on all platforms at SoundOracle. All right, till next time.